Join me as we embark on Black Culture Trek 2024, celebrating the profound influence of African American and Black culture in Paris, Brussels, and London from September 21st through 27th, 2024. Immerse yourself in rich history, savor exquisite cuisine, and explore hidden gems guided by local experts. This transformative journey promises a unique blend of culture, heritage, and self-discovery, offering an unparalleled opportunity to make history together. Don't miss out. Go to www.yourbestlifeabroad.com/Black Culture Trek registration to register now for an unforgettable experience. Now, on to the podcast. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Best Life Abroad, Not Your Average Travel Podcast. This season, we are delving deep into all you need to know to make 2024 the year that you move abroad. So I am your host, Dr. Raquel. Today, we will be diving into what probably would be considered the complex, intricate, detail-oriented world of visas. And so whether you're planning on a short-term move, so we've talked in the past about moving for like 2 months at a time. If you want to be tri-countryed and maybe just spend a few weeks in each place, you want to hop around. Or if you're considering a full-time move where you're packing all your stuff up, actually, let me rephrase, where you are getting rid of all of your stuff, because you do not need most of the things that you probably will want to pack, and you're moving abroad full time, understanding the ins and the outs of the visa process, that is really going to be crucial for you. So go ahead and get your cup of coffee, go ahead, get comfortable, put up your feet, because this is episode 2 of season 3, where we will be talking about visa requirements for your move abroad. So we are going to kick things off by talking about the different visa options that there are. Okay, so when you're thinking about your move abroad, the world is diverse, and so are the visa possibilities. So all around the world, depending on where you want to be, what you're going to be doing, who you're going to be going with, all of those things influence the type of visa that you're going to need to have. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is a tourist visa. These are typically just a short-term visa if you're planning on taking a trip somewhere for a short period of time. This is usually where the short-term visa comes in handy. So it might be like just a 30-day, 60-day visa. Also, if you hold a U.S. passport, a lot of countries you don't even need a visa. You can spend 90 days, for example, in most of Europe without a visa if you have a U.S. passport. So U.S. passports do provide you with a lot of additional perks. Where if you had another country's passport, you might not have that same ability. But these are typically pretty easy to come by. There is an assumption that you're not really trying to stay there long term. And so you don't really have to jump through a whole lot of hoops for a tourist visa. Okay. Again, usually a specific duration of time. But you definitely want to make sure that you leave when you're supposed to leave, because then that can jack up if you wanted to try to come back at a later date. Or if you did want to stay for a longer time and transition to a different type of visa, it can really mess up that process if you're not following the guidelines of the tourist visa. Okay. So next, we're going to talk about work permits. Now, many of you who move abroad will move abroad for employment opportunities. And so when you're moving abroad to start a job in another country, so let's say you're a teacher and you're going to teach in China, you will need a work permit for that country. And that is really your way to be able to legally work in another place is through a work permit. Okay. Again, different from a digital nomad. Okay. We'll talk about digital nomads as well. But this is a work permit, like you are working for a company that is located or headquartered or something in the country that you're moving to. All right. Now, with these, you typically have to have a job offer from a local employer. And then the terms of this can vary. It can be for 1 year. It can be for 3 years, where every year after you'll need to renew. It can be 3 years, you renew every year for the next two, and then you can possibly get nationality or a long-term citizenship or an extended visa. And so the specifics of these will vary. Now, there are a few things I want to say about a work permit. Okay. So one is you just want to be clear who is responsible for the work permit. So nowadays you have employers who will be like, we are a US company. We would like for you to go work in London, but we are not going to help you get your visa. We need you to figure it out. And I have done this before. It is possible, but I also will say it's for the birds. Now, more than likely, if they have the money to send you to London to go to work, they also have the money to hire somebody in London to help you get a visa. So if you can negotiate somebody helping you through this process with your job offer, I would highly recommend that. Because there's a lot of red tape, and oftentimes there are people on the ground who can help you, but you need to know who those people are. And if you're just getting there, you're just trying to figure it out, now you're trying to make sure you're doing something legally, more than likely your employer should be able to help you with those things. So you have some employers that have whole systems built in to help with this process. You have others who are like, girl, you are on your own and you have to figure that out. Okay. So again, I would highly recommend you try to negotiate some of that if possible. Okay. Now another possible type of visa is an investor visa. So this is an interesting category of visa. So some countries offer visas to people who want to make a financial investment. It has to be pretty significant. This could be by buying real estate. So let's say, for example, you're like, I really would love to buy a home on the beach in Nice, and it's going to be $350,000. That would be potentially considered a significant financial investment in France. And so even if you're not able to get like a work visa, you may be able to get a visa because you are paying $350,000 to buy this house. Okay, so that would definitely be a significant investment. Or if you want to start a business in another country, again, not a digital nomad. Okay, so this is like you are contributing to the local economy. You are potentially creating jobs for the people of that country. You are significantly contributing to the economic stability or overall economic advancement of that country by starting this business. So these are also ways that you can get a visa by having an investor visa. Okay. Now, this may be a way for you to secure a longer term visa outside of a digital nomad. So let's say, for example, you really want to move to a country that does not offer a digital nomad visa, but you would like to work there as a digital nomad. So what you might be able to do is buy a home there, which would allow you to be there, to live there, to work there, okay, as your digital nomad. But you are utilizing an investor visa because you've invested money by purchasing this home, okay? Now, one thing that is important, I've talked to people many, many times that are like, oh, it's no problem. I'm just going to move to this place. No, you will just not, okay? Because remember, you cannot just pack up and move to a country because you want to, okay? You will need to get permission from that country to move there. Now, there are lots of trends of people moving to different countries, and it's like, oh, wow, so many people are moving to this country. Every time I talk to someone, they're like, oh, yeah, this person moved there and that person moved there. More than likely, it's because they have a visa that allows people from a specific country to move there, okay? Now, if you don't hear people moving to another country, they may not have that same type of partnership. Okay, and so there are some partnerships where a specific country has a relationship with your country. Like, for example, there's a DAFT treaty, which is a Dutch-American friendship treaty. So if you'd like to go work in the Netherlands, it might be easier for you to move there than it would be for you to go to Belgium to move, for example. Okay, so you really want to make sure that you get the proper permission from the country that you would like to move to before moving there, okay? And the way that you do that is through a visa. Okay. So this is one way to make sure that you are working within the rules of the country is by securing the appropriate visa for what you want to do. Okay. We clear? We are. Okay, let's move on. So next, student visas. Okay, so this is what I used when I first moved abroad. Okay, is a student visa. And this is for people who are interested in going to spend a specific amount of time in a foreign country for the purposes of education. Now, I've also talked to a lot of people recently who are interested in like master's and doctoral degrees in other countries. Or let's say you're interested in studying, like, I want to go learn Italian and I want to go learn it in Sicily. I want to spend 3 months, 4 months in Sicily learning Italian. You may be also able to get a student visa to learn a language. Okay. Now, these visas sometimes have additional perks as well. So, like, you can study somewhere and you can work part-time. But again, these are not intended to be work visas. So more than likely, you will not be able to get permission to like work full-time somewhere, except unless it's like maybe an internship in the summer. But typically, this is not for full-time employment. The purpose of a student visa is studying. Everything else is considered secondary. Okay. But if you are like, I would love to have a master's degree, I want to go to the London School of Economics, you decide to go there, you go work a little part-time job while you're there. This can be the visa that helps you to do that. All right. Now, if you are an entrepreneur and you are looking to set up and to run a business overseas, okay, you can look at either entrepreneur or startup visas. So the main things that countries want to know here is, are you helping bring money into this country or are you trying to pull money out of this country? If they feel like you will be a good contributor to their economy, then you are in business, okay? But again, this is not the same as a digital nomad, okay? What a digital nomad visa allows you to do is that it allows you to come into a country. You do not have to have any specific type of employment. You do not have to be there for studies. It is a country that has opened up their borders to people who they know are working virtually and that they are allowing them to stay there. Now, there are specifics for each country's digital nomad visa. There are specific periods of time for each country. So you really have to look and check and see what the specifics are for the country that you're looking for, okay? And making sure that they offer the visa that allows you to do what you want to do. Okay, so you need to be clear on what you are planning to do so then you can clearly communicate that to the country that you're hoping to move to. Okay. Now, these entrepreneur and startup visas, these are tailored to individuals with innovative business ideas. So sometimes it might be for a specific industry, like if you work in technology, there might be a country that's like, we need some more tech people in here. So we're going to go ahead and offer startup visas and entrepreneur visas to people who have tech companies because we're trying to have a larger tech presence in our country. Okay, so there is a focus oftentimes on encouraging economic development and then creating jobs. All right. Now, this part right here is that we're going to talk about next. This is like, I had some experiences, y'all, with moving abroad with your family or a spouse. Okay. So you really want to be crystal clear on the type of visa that each person is eligible for. Okay. When my hubby Lumps and I moved to Germany, we were told that we both had the same visas. Okay, so, we're in the US, we have our visa, our consulate appointment in Atlanta. We lived in North Carolina at the time. And so we go to our appointment, we give the people all of our paperwork, we tell them what type of visa we're looking for. They say, okay, no problem. And then, no problem. We have the same visa. We get to Germany and we had to have an appointment then with the Landratsamt, which is like the foreigner's office. So we made our appointment when we got in country and they were like, okay, yeah, he can work, but you need a sponsor. And also, girl, you have 30 days to get one. So work it out. or you have to go back to the US. And so, but at that time we had already packed up our stuff. We were already in Germany. We were getting settled down. We're learning German. And then we found out, okay, just kidding. You have to find a sponsor. Now, thankfully, I did. The Lord is good. But there was no guarantee that that was going to actually happen. Okay. But I was able to I worked as an educator in the US. I was able to find a similar job in Germany. And so I started working at several universities there, and they were able to provide me with the paperwork that I needed in order to be able to work in Germany. But again, we definitely did not know that before we left the United States. And then once we moved to Belgium, once again, we were informed that we were getting the same type of visa until we went to pick up our ID cards. And somehow my wonderful hubby lumps had an orange paper ID and mine was laminated in blue. Obviously, not the same. And so then they were like, oh, yes, he can be here, because we were moving there for my job. So they were like, yes, he can be here. He can work here, but he can't leave the country for 60 days. So we were like, what in the world is going on with the people? But thankfully, there was a woman who lived in Antwerp, who my husband and I always called the mayor, the secret mayor of the city. And she loved him. And so she called the government office. And then that same week, he had a new visa and a new card, honey. She did all the things. So it is good to know people in high places. But that is not the norm. That is not normal. She saved us. Okay. And so please do not do what we did twice. Trust in the people. Please make sure that you know the ins and outs of what you are signing up for, especially if moving abroad with your family. Okay. Now, you want to make sure that your children have visas where they can stay with you as their parent. You do not want to get there and then they're like, oh yeah, your child can be here for 90 days on a tourist visa. But after these 90 days, they have to go back to the US. And who's who? That's not happening. So you just want to make sure that you have done your due diligence to make sure that all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed so that you can have a smooth transition. Okay, so of course, this is not an exhaustive list. Okay, I just wanted to give you what are the most common visas that people are moving abroad with. Okay, how do you go about making sure that you understand the visa that you need for the country that you want to go to? Are you going to be going there because you're just trying to check it out? Okay, that's a short time. Maybe you just want a good tourist visa. Are you going there because you're moving for a job? Then you need a work permit that will allow you to work in the country that you're moving to. Now, I've said it before, but one thing you want to consider, just as a little aside, is one thing you want to make sure you're considering is the cost of living in the place that you're going to. If you can work virtually from the US and make triple your salary of what you might make working for a company in Mexico, then you want to do that. Because what you don't want to do is take a salary cut to move abroad and then be struggling financially. Okay. So you just want to make sure that you look into those, use your cost of living calculators, and make sure that you are set up for financial success. But that is just an aside. You want to make sure you're doing those things. But yes, a work permit, that is what allows you to work in another country. You want to make sure that if you are like, I want to go to this place, I do not qualify for any of these visas. I am not marrying somebody in this country to be able to live here. And so, but I do want to buy a house, and I can buy a house and then get a visa. So if that's the case, maybe an investor permit might be or investor visa might be what's best for you. If you are thinking of going back to school and you really want to do it somewhere outside of the US, there's nothing like a public policy degree outside of a US perspective. Okay. So maybe you decide you want to go get your master's in public policy from the Czech Republic. Okay. So if that's the case, then maybe a student visa is something that you want to look into. If you're thinking of starting a business in another country, entrepreneur or a startup visa might be the right choice for you. So you're moving abroad with your family. You just want to make sure there are lots of options with families. So you just want to make sure that you and your family, each member of your family, has the visa that allows you to do what you want to do in that country. Okay. So each country has very unique visa categories. First thing you want to do is what we talked about last time, which is making that decision, getting over those doubts, getting over those what ifs, make the decision to go. Next thing you want to do, which we talked about in season 2, is choose the country you would like to live in. Okay, so now you know the country you would like to live in. You have said, yes, we are doing this thing. 2024 is it. So now you want to figure out what visa you need. Okay, so what are the visa requirements in the country you'd like to move to? And the key is to really research thoroughly, consult with immigration experts. So I'm not sure if you know this, but you can call your country's consulate and talk to someone in the US and ask them all of your visa questions. So I have done it before. I have contacted the Belgian consulate in Atlanta and I have asked them all types of questions. They have been super, super helpful to figure out what options are available for my specific situation. So you do not have to just kind of go through this thing blindly. You can actually speak to a person. You can speak to a person in the US who does speak English, who can help kind of walk you through a lot of the things that you might be gray about. Okay. And so you want to make sure that you're doing your research. You want to make sure that you're asking whatever questions you have. You want to make sure that you are clear on what you would like to do within those countries so that you can have the visa that suits the needs of yourself or yourself and your family. Okay. All right. So that wraps it up. That is our deep dive into the more popular visa options that are available. Okay. So remember, research, understanding your options. Those are really going to be critical when you're planning your move abroad. You want to make sure you are abiding by the laws of the country that you want to move to. You want to make sure that you are thorough, and you definitely, I will say this again, you definitely want to not procrastinate. Okay, set yourself up for success. Do not set yourself up for stress because you will be stressing if you procrastinate. Okay, but we're trying to help you have a smooth transition abroad and research, being thorough, doing your due diligence, exploring what your options are, talking to a person to answer the questions that you have. Those are the things that are going to make you feel good, feel confident, and feel excited about your move abroad. Okay? All right, y'all. So until next time, I am Dr. Raquel. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If any of you are interested in moving abroad and need some help creating your move abroad roadmap, I am here to support you on getting your journey started. So head over to my website at www.yourbestlifeabroad.com for information on how to turn your dream of moving abroad into a reality. So thank you again for joining me today. So good talking to you. And just remember that there is no time like right now to live your best life abroad. Talk to y'all soon.